like when a system had or an institution had a certain system, and they faced some kinds of troubles that they face it for the first time. I don't mean that it is not a job done by them before, but they have a certain experiment or certain field, but they do not have such mistakes before. This is what she meant with unavoidable mistakes. The other one is the intelligent one, which will when a new experiment is done, and even if it will not succeed, then it will brought a lot of knowledge to their and the main idea about it is that they do not know anything about that experiment in advance. Okay. After that, she mentioned a list of how should they deal with a problem or a failure. Also, she listed it in certain categories, which is the detection of the failure, admitting there is a failure, analyzing it, and then doing experimentation in order to solve the problem. Okay, that's it. Do you want to talk about detection of the failure or the details? I had only the main principle, or as you said, the key points about it. Like in detection, detecting the failure, sometimes the worker or the member of an institute will not admit that he made a mistake. Okay, so they will pass it, and it will pass unnoticed. This can accumulate their problems, I think. So this is the first and essential step of dealing with failure, that we had to admit that we have something wrong. And analyzing failure after that is we have to make to take also responsibility of our behavior, like when we did such a mistake. Okay. And I think she also mentioned something important, which is the difference between the manager and a leader. This was something interesting. She said, like, a leader can create a culture who are responsible for their activities, and hence they will be able to manage their problems. But the managers are only just giving orders, or they are blaming. They had this blame game. They will know who did the mistake and just blame him, and he will take the responsibility totally.
What is a blame game? Can you just elaborate a little bit more about that? And did you have this sort of situations in your life, in your career?
Blame game, I didn't focus very much about that part, but of course I was subjected to such unfair game.
Okay, would you please tell me a little bit more details and put me in perspective? I would prefer if you elaborate more.
Like when you are being a junior in whatever section or whatever, and whenever you don't have enough experience to defend yourself or to know what are the exact causes of that mistakes, then others with a lot of experience, I don't think it is experienced by because they are better than me, or because just they had such situations earlier and they had that experience. That's it. So now the blame game will start. When we fall in a mistake, then the persons with low experience will be more subjected to the blame. They will take the blame for their own, by themselves, sorry.
Okay.
They do not know how to defeat themselves. They do not have the principles or the ways that will make them escape that problem.
Now, did you have this sort of work bullying, if we may call that expression, in any one of the stages of your work as a doctor or as a student or as a volunteer? Would you please tell me a little bit more about it, and how did you deal with this sort of situations?
I don't believe that I have such a thing in my studying years, because we are equal. And yeah, I didn't have such problems. But and you know, when people are under pressure, they will appeal. I mean, I had such problems during my career, as I said, because we were the weak persons. We were with less knowledge, and we didn't know the system well. We didn't know how to defeat ourselves. We were afraid of those who are bigger and older than us. So that was only the beginning. But once you know your duties and you know how to deal with them, once you know deeply that doing your best, then you will have the courage to say that I didn't do anything wrong.
Okay, now this paragraph just caught my attention, and I would like to elaborate and ask you to elaborate a little bit more about it. In detecting failure, it says, spotting big, painful, expensive failure is easy, but in many organizations, any failure that can be hidden is hidden, as long as it is unlikely to cause immediate or obvious harm. What is your explanation of this from your reading of the essay?
It means when mistakes are minor and are hidden or covered by someone else or other systems, then of course it will pass unnoticed and nobody will talk about it. And but accumulating problems, of course, will lead to disastrous causes afterward.
Consequences, you mean?
Disastrous sequences, yes.
Consequences.
Yes.
Okay. Another comment that I would... Go ahead.
Yes. The first part of solving the problem, we have to admit that there is a problem, and we have to admit that we did something wrong. Otherwise, we'll not know what are the cause for these problems.
Okay,
then
I
it
see
will
that.
keep gathered and gathered, and then will be unresolved.
Okay. The expression that usually English speakers use is to push it under the rug. Push it under the rug. Push it under the rug. It's a very common expression. Say it again.
You mean we rug the carpet, right?
Yes, but if you say carpet, you should not say carpet, because this is a fixed expression. To push it or to sweep something under the rug, we commonly say to push or to sweep something under the rug. Like when there is dirt in the floor, on the floor, and then we just need to sweep it off because we just. Have you seen those people who clean streets?
Cartoons. Yeah, I saw it in Tom and Jerry cartoons. They always do the same.
Yeah, say they sweep it under the rug. But they're pretty much not. They're pretty much not dealing with the cause. They're dealing with the result. So ultimately, their sort of treatment is going to collapse and fall apart because they're not diagnosing the case. They're not treating everything that is causing the whole issue there. So we should not sweep it or.
Yeah, I think they should not believe that failure is a stigma or something, shame in their career. Because because if we identify it in the early stages, then it will take less time and effort in order to be solved.
But do you think that people's lack of admittance of this sort of things is coming from their fear that they are going to be blamed, or because they just don't want to admit that they are making mistakes because they might get fired later on?
I think it's involved both. Want to say that I did a mistake. They are ashamed of it, and maybe their life is about that career and that.
Now the interesting thing here. Have you had any occasion in your life where you made a mistake but you did not admit that because you were afraid of the consequences?
I did mistakes, but I didn't cover it.
You didn't push. You didn't sweep it under the rug.
I remember some of the patients I dealt with. He had a swelling in his neck, and when I do my
when you did,
when I examined him, I think at the night, I don't know, something came into my mind that time. It was not my job to agree from the beginning, but it's something came into my mind that this patient will suffocate from that mass in his neck. So I asked him, is he choking? Is he feel any discomfort?
Okay.
Since 1 or 3 months, I don't remember. What should I do at that time is to write a consultation to the surgery department and ask their for their opinion, but I didn't. As I said, it was not my job. It was the permanent resident job. I was only a resident doctor.
Okay.
But I blamed myself after that because I didn't write that consultation paper. If I did, I might rescued him at that night because he passed that night. Nobody of the seniors none of them had the attention. How can I say it?
Paid attention.
That problem. I noticed it. I imagined the story in my mind, but I didn't take any action. So this, I blamed myself every time I remember that boy.
Now, we'll come to that part later in the section of promoting for experimentation. I think when we are talking about your self-experience and the kind of career struggles and challenges that you had is just to create some sort of relevance or a bridge between what you read and what the kind of experience you went through. We're just building cumulatively on the experience that you had, because this is the way we augment. I think you come across augmentine, but not augment. Okay. To augment the kind of writing solidity that you have and the number of vocabulary, and I'll come to that part in the section where we talk about promoting experimentation. I mean, in your case, promoting experimentation on human beings is very limited because of the risk of jeopardizing people's life. But what we are doing right now, I'm giving you some quotes from the essay, and I'm just probing to see, probing. I'm using these words intentionally again to help you understand how they are used. Probing. I have listed them in the chat box in Skype. Do you see them?
Yes. Yeah.
Probing, just snubble. Okay. So
Yeah,
we're
using the
probe. Yeah, definitely. You use it in medicine a lot. The next thing that just caught my attention is this quote here that says, just check it out here. It says, one challenge is teaching people in organization when to declare defeat in an experiment course of action. This comes and happens a lot in.
But I just wanted to see it. I cannot find it.
It's I'm copying that into the chat box in Skype. Do you see it?
In the chat box.
Chat box in Skype where we talk to each other.
Yeah, I know, but I cannot find the paragraph you are reading.
Just read the paragraph here because you do not need to connect it to the whole paragraph.
Okay.
It says one challenge is teaching people in organization when to declare defeat in experimental course of action. Like, have you had this kind of experience where people try something new, but they just fail, but they fail to admit their failure? So have you had any sort of occasions where this happened to you? I would like to ask you to tell me a little bit more about it.
I don't know. I didn't really have such situations.
Now, what is your interpretation of
cannot,
this quote here? What is your interpretation or understanding of the quote that I just sent you here?
I just need to read it because I cannot find it.
You cannot find it in the chat box in Skype or in the paragraph?
It says the promoting experimentation, right?
No. My
No,
question
where
is,
it?
one challenge is teaching people. You cannot see it in paragraph or in Skype's chat.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay. One challenge is teaching people in an organization when to declare defeat in an experimental cause. I do not understand the quote actually.
Okay, the quote is very clear that one of the biggest struggles in organizations is that they fail to tell people you should admit that you failed in this project. So if you and 3 of your colleagues working in certain company and they assign you to do certain kind of project, a particular kind of project, and you just fail in that project and you just refuse to admit that you failed in this project. That's the whole thing about it. That's what I meant. What is your understanding of that?
I mean, why should I? Why didn't I admit my mistakes?
Because maybe
it's only an experiment. It either work or
fail.
So yeah, or fail. So it is not a shame, as I said, not a stigma in my career. The environment, the equipment, the colleagues maybe didn't help me. All of that may participate in that failure. Why should I blame myself and then I do not admit that I did something wrong? If people did such a thing, then I don't know what standards they have in their life.
Now, that leads me to my next quote that's quite interesting, and I would love to ask you to give me more elaboration about. If you can just have a look at it here.
Okay. Once a failure has been detected, it's essential to go beyond the obvious and superficial reasons to understand the root causes. Okay.
Now, I think I need to clarify my protocol here, that when I'm just giving you this script, this short passages, is to help you explain them to me, because once you start explaining them to me, you would probably get another dimension of understanding of the essay.
Okay. I believe it means that which is regarding analysis of a failure. Like if we put away our ego and our superficial and unacceptable reasons that we may put it as an excuse, then what?
Excuse,
okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Then this means that we are on the right way and we are heading towards the exact analysis and, as they said, the root causes, which are the exact causes that made us did that mistake.
Now, you understand that partially we started discussing this article because in the previous meeting we have talked about your fears and your phobias and your perseverance to become very successful doctor, and the haunting feeling that you may fail at some point, not to prove that yourself as the top-notch, cutting-edge sort of doctor, and all the collateral, negative feelings that you got from that sort of experience. And you promised me that you're going to tell me more about that part particularly. So would you please, now we're shifting a little bit offshore from talking about the whole article here, but I can feel that we need to take another round of reading of this article to understand it. And you do not need to understand it 100%. You just need to understand the major words and the structure of the essay.
Talking about understanding the major concept, the problem that me and other students, and I think this is a universal problem that all students will suffer from, is that you may read an article or subject or a book, and you feel that you understand it very well and you just digest all the information there. And then I suffered from this problem. When I was a student, I read my textbook and I went to the hospital, and I feel that I'm very versed. This is the word, right?
Yes.
I'm versed of that subject.
Well
versed. When the professor asked me about well-versed, okay, asked me about it, I just freeze in front of him and I just pause a lot of because I didn't forget the subject. The problem is that I forget how I did understand the subject. Do you understand me?
Yes.
I understand it very well, but I forget how to understand it.
I think that's
did I understand it?
that is very common. That is very common among the
it's a very common
readers community, and understanding something and letting people know that you understood it is completely different story. Like there is some sort of
exactly. The huge gap between the two concepts.
Exactly.
Like when you ask me a medical question, I know the answer, but I cannot explain it because I forget how I did I understand it. But it's there in my mind.
I think there's a quote for that that comes from either Hamlet or Macbeth, plays by William Shakespeare, and he said, there is a method to my madness. And what he meant is that whatever you see as a chaos to your eyes is not a chaos to me. It's order to my eyes.
Okay.
Have you, like, this comes as no surprise when people just visit me and see the scattered books in my room and the chaos of electronics and collection of handouts here and spread there, and they think it's chaos, but I know I can spot what I'm looking for quickly just because I know where it is geographically located. But for them, it just seems madness. It's just chaos. It's out of order. So this is pretty much you in case of understanding something, but failing to let people
That's
understand.
how
Yeah.
I understood.
Okay. Now, last point we stopped at was when you mentioned the real feeling that you had when you saw cadavers and under the surgeon's scalpel, and that kind of strange, weird sort of feeling that they are humans like us, but they are dead and they are cold. They have no feeling. It's just something very strange. I had that kind of feeling in Las Vegas when I went to the Museum of Human Body, and they keep complete human bodies, dead human bodies, mummified, and showing their internal organs or their brains, or they show unborn babies, dead unborn babies, like still babies, and it was shocking experience to me. Actually, it was just I don't know. I don't know how to describe that feeling. So I want you to tell me about your feeling, because that is the point where we stopped at in our last meeting.
We promised to talk about some stories about
Yes.
hospital.
Yeah. Would you please tell me about that in case?
This first episode. Okay. I remember the second most disastrous call I ever had
Okay.
in my residency period. It was me and my friend at the Department of Hematology, and of course we were alone.
Okay.
Nobody with us, in hospitals or elsewhere, all institutions, they have the career ladder that there is a permanent, like we are resident doctor, permanent resident, second, third, fourth.
Yeah.
Resident doctor, and there's a senior doctor. So we were at the bottom of the list. We were the least in charge part of the list. So I remember that we were alone, and there was a dying case at the ward. He was suffering from something in his liver. I cannot remember what was it, but something in his liver.
Okay.
And the patient was he has a jaundice. You know what is jaundice?
Yes.
And he wasn't even yellow. He was orange in color. By all means, he was orange, and he was a dying and hopeless case. We couldn't do anything. His family tried a lot of private hospital, but they refused to admit him because you know it is a dying case, and they do not want to add a number to their mortality rate. Okay. So they admitted to our hospital.
And what happened?
The irony is that man was the son of, I don't know who, but he was head of one of the tribes, and such people should not die.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, they have to survive in one way or another. You have to, and you are responsible like hell
Yes.
about them. So I remember that they called us and they said he's in a serious condition, and we went there. He was dying. He was gasping, and the patient gasped. That means that he's dead. He's clinically dead. Okay.
Okay.
So we examined him after he passed, and we said that he did. I remember that me and my friend, we said that he's dead. We announced his death, and we just run with, I don't know, with all our powers, and we rushed into our room and we just locked it from the inside. And I remember that I put the bed behind the door.
Yeah.
Because I was so scared and frightened. And after a while, we heard knocking and scary and mad knocking at the door. And
what did they want?
That we are responsible. We killed him. They said that you killed him.
Oh my God.
Yes, we just killed him. He was lying there for about a month, and he is not responding to any kind of interference. He's dead. But unlucky us, it happened during our duty. So I remember that I called a friend from the emergency department and said, please come and rescue us, and call the security. And again, lucky us this time that the security knew those people, and he calmed them and said that they are very young girls and they do not know anything. You should not blame them. So he rescued us, but I cannot ever forget how bad I was shaking, and we were just young. It was the second call at the hematology department. We didn't even knew the system very well.
Okay.
This is the first episode of my
that is really terrifying experience. I got the kind of experiences that I passed through are not the same kind that you had, but they're kind of like I share some commonality with the sort of experiences that you had. I had a like I was working in Baghdad at university, and as a partnership with Iraqi scholarship programs, and we were invited to Indiana State University to conduct to get 1 month training with English teachers there. So they partner us with another English teacher, and we work on teaching students English. So we kind of gather some experience from them and learn new methods and new techniques for language teaching. And this is probably normal for professional development. And we departed the country in January, and we were there for like 1 month. And that was back in 2016. That was my second time going to the United States. The first time was back in 2009, a long time ago. It just makes me feel old right now. And what happened, it was, Indiana is very cold state. It's kind of Midwest. There is almost nothing except for big malls that, that are located in the outer skirts of the city. And it's pretty much like open areas of nothingness, except for monuments here and there. And we were in Ball State University. It's a huge campus. It's very huge campus. And in order to go from one location on that campus to another, you just need to get a bus. It's very big.
Yes.
It's almost a mini city. And it was late. It was around, I think 11 or 1 a.m. I came back. It was really raining. My friend invited me for dinner, and he was living at the edge of campus. So I got when we finished dinner, we talked. He was from Mosul, so I left them. They closed the door, and I hopped in the bus, and I got into campus. But I remembered that I had a temporary phone. The mobile phone that I had was not working there, that I got with me from Iraq. So they gave me a phone, the university, and in that phone I had around 3 numbers.
Okay.
So it was raining heavily. It was raining like crazy, cats and dogs, you know. So I arrived on campus. It was really late. It was around 12:30 or 1 a.m. And I didn't know about that rule, but they lock campus residents and hotel. They have a hotel at university that they welcome guests and they put them in that hotel. So everything was locked. Like there was nobody there. Everybody was just sleeping. And it was really raining heavily. So I pull out my phone to call my friend to come and pick me up, and my phone was dying.
Okay. No charge.
So it was almost 2 or 3% charge left. And I don't know how that happened, but that was just, I didn't notice that my phone was running out of charge. So I tried to call my friend. My friend was sleeping. He was not responding. I started to freak out. It was really cold. It was really cold. It was like really cold and, raining heavily. I was alone by myself. It was really dark. There was nobody around me. I kind of like lost the way back to my friend who I came from, and there was no bus to take me back. So I got stuck in the middle of rain, in middle of darkness, and I was like looking at myself. How am I going to get out of this? So
What did you do?
I stayed for like 15 minutes, not knowing what to do. My phone was almost dead. And all of a sudden, there was, it seemed that this is some kind of...
a security guard or something at the door?
Nobody was there. The whole buildings was almost abandoned. Everybody was sleeping. The security, I didn't know where the place of security, but near that place I was located in, it seems that there was some sort of ring bell that you just press, and that will set off some sort of a reminder to the gatekeeper just to open the gate to help you get in. So out of, misery and out of nothing to do, I just pressed on that. I didn't know the mechanism that they were playing by. But then I heard, some noise going off inside the building. And then a few minutes later, a man just opened, and I was like getting relieved because that was like really freaking.
You got to hug him so badly.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking of my dad. I was thinking of my mom. If I stay over there, I'll just freeze to death in that kind of campus, thousands of miles away from my home. So that is really freaking kind of feeling.
Things are turns out very bad when you are alone and there's no one to help you. Like if you share your fears with others, then they will be less harmful, or others can help you in finding the right way or the solution for that problem. But when you are alone, your mind just freeze.
Actually, there are some positive and negative things about being in company of people who know you. One of the positives is that you will feel protected. You will feel that there's somebody on your back. that knows who you are, knows where you're coming from, knows where you're heading to. So this is some sort of relieving sort of feeling. And the other, well, the other one of the negatives about that is that once you get used to those people, you start hanging along a lot around them. And if your goal of coming to this country is to help learn language, you're not going to end up making that much progress. And that what happened to some of my friends who just stayed with their Iraqi partners and Iraqi friends in the same room for the whole period of their MA and PhD study, and they ended up being unable to learn and master language efficiently. That just happened to them.
Okay.
So it has some positives and some negatives out there, to be honest. However, going back, because we are throwing the ball back and forth between you and me, saying these interesting stories, and I truly love the kind of stories that you tell me about your experience. It would be great if you write them as a sort of... Hello?
I don't know what happened.
I think I got disconnected. Yes.
Okay.
So what what we've been doing is we're sharing some stories and telling each other, speaking wise. Of course, we're doing some practice here, and I love the kind of stories that you're telling me. I think it would be great if you write them as memories, as a form of a book later on.
They are familiar to each single doctor in Iraq, so nobody would buy it.
But how about if... How about if this book is bought by non-doctor specialists?
I didn't think about it.
Okay. Now, coming back, do you have another interesting story to share with me, or we move into our next item in our agenda of tonight?
I don't know. Do we have time?
Oh,
okay, just keep it to the next time.
Sure, if you promise me.
Yeah, of course. You have my word.
I wanted to talk a little bit about some tasks, not homework. This is not homework, but I wanted to show you this thing here. This happened to be some of the questions that were brought in one of IELTS tests in 2021, this year. This list of questions, do you use a computer? Do you often, how often do you use your computer? What kind of activities involve using computers? These are like very silly questions that they brought to IELTS test. And I was looking at them, I was like, let me share them with Zainab. The speaking here comes at 3 parts. The first part is general questions about interest. And second is about a topic that you need to think a little bit about before you answer. Like describe a new public place, like building. And then the third topic, I have the list. I'm just reading from the list that I sent you.
Okay.
And third is topic for discussion, and it's usually debatable topic. And what they measure, because this is their measurement, they measure how much people can talk about conversation, about general topic, and how much they can gather information and organize them in a logical sequence before they start talking. And the third is how they respond to questions that have some debates, some sort of debate sort of thing with them. And they build that um, generally speaking, on how people can develop, how people can use their speaking skills in a coherent way and use advanced vocabulary and use a variety of grammatical structures like metaphors, idioms, advanced level and academic vocabulary, and they produce full range of pronunciation features with good precision and subtlety. Also sustain some flexibility with the features, the language features that they do have. So they maintain or sustain flexible use. So they're not just pushing hard on the first 1 minute and then they lose the power horse or the horsepower of their ability later on. They just maintain that. And they kind of like scale it up in terms of difficulty. So the first one is general conversation. The second one is more back and forth, and it takes a little bit of thinking. And the third one is some sort of debatable topic. So they measured that on these three criteria here. I just wanted to share them with you here. And also, I just need to, in our next meeting, of course, we'll just continue talking about the essay. I love when I ask you to summarize some part of this essay because that's going to help you explain your thoughts better. And it's challenging, of course, yes, because that's what's going to make you stronger in terms of language use. I love if when we talk, and if you think of a word that is some sort of academically oriented, just use it, because this is a good venue for you to practice and reproduce language. One of the best features of advanced English learners is they reproduce what they read. So if you're talking about emotional intelligence, about alternative explanations of failure, just write down what I suggest to you do is that from this reading of the article, you have listed around 15 to 20 vocabulary. Just keep them in front of you, and when you talk to me, just throw one by one in the conversation. That is going to help you reproduce them spoken, and not only keep them passive in your memory. Do not ever rely on your memory, but rather just rely on how much you reproduce language and reproduce the kind of elements. And this is what I was taught by my professors, and this is how I am telling people to effectively use language, reproduce it again. Whatever you learn, just reproduce it, and you're gonna become so much professional in it. Also, there is another thing that I wanted to, let me just send it to you. The whole tasks are sent to you in the Google Sheet, so you can access that later. But I was checking if we can do some listening practice. I sent you a test. And what I want you to do, this is the link to the test. Maybe you are going to be required to log in to answer this test. And there is one way I want you to do the test. I will send you answer sheet, empty answer sheet. You need to print it out and use a pen or a pencil and then you play the recording, you watch on the screen the kind of missing word that you need to write, and you write it in the answer sheet that I sent you. Once you finish the 40 questions, you take a photo on your phone and you send it to me. And I will give you a score out of 9 for this one. Now, why do we take a listening test, before we start discussing listening? I want to run diagnosis of the general weaknesses and strengths that you have in listening. And building on my observation from this diagnosis, we can address the weaknesses and strengths and talk about them.
Okay.
We can do it the way around, where we talk about listening, we take some classes and discuss it, and then do the test. And it has some meaningful results. However, I prefer that I sent you this link. You just finish it, and then you send back to me the results.
Okay. The answers.
Perfect. Now, do you have any comments so far?
No.
Okay.
Till now, no.
Now, one last thing. The power of habit.
Yes.
How do you find it so far?
It is interesting. It is not a dry material like the article. It is interesting.
Well, we are not...
that the sequences of the event and the examples they give, they are very... I don't know how to describe it.
Engaging.
Yes, exactly, yes.
Perfect. Now, we'll talk a little bit about it in our next meeting. I think it's a quite interesting and informative sort of book in terms of personal development and in terms of vocabulary. There are so many.
Can we discuss it now so we can shift to another chapter?
I would love to hear your insights about what you read, of course.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. We started the book or the
prelude
subject. Yes, with a simple equation that is consisting of a cue and a routine and reward. This the equation that will
the habit loop. It's the habit loop.
Habit. We have this equation by which we can create a habit. So after that, we add another part to this equation, which is a craving by unsatisfaction of the reward or by anticipation of the reward. This way we will create a craving that will somewhat give somehow it will give a firm foundation to the habit. But after that, now we are discussing another subject, which how to change the bad habits, because it's all about changing the bad habits.
How to reverse that.
Yes, how to reverse the bad habit. So they said that the old habit, there's a golden rule, of course, a golden rule they follow.
Rule.
It's rule, yes. It says that you cannot extinguish a habit or a bad habit, but instead you only can change it. And when they say that you can change it, they mean you can change the routine, okay? Because people will tend to change their habits, old or bad habits, when they will find something familiar at the beginning of the end, which is the cue and rewards. Okay?
Clear.
What?
I said Sorry? Clear. I said...
I cannot hear you.
I said clear. Clear. That's clear.
Clear. Okay. What they mean, there is another how can I describe it? A magic or another ingredient we can add to the recipe that will not fix that, will enable the reworked habit to be durable, more durable, and will last more. This is called the belief. If you believe or have a commitment for anything or something, then you will be able to change the bad habits. Like simply changing routine is not enough to change a habit, because changing the routine will not be beneficial, or it not seem will not make everything seem so good after a bad day, you know. Like for an example, or for instance, we have alcoholics. They do not drink alcohol in order to get drunk, or they are not seeking for intoxication. They
But
seek for escape or a relaxation, or they simply need someone to share their problems, and this will happen only when they share drinking. So if we change that routine and we make people believe that they can change, then they really can change. And one of the things that will help changing the bad habits is when someone will be in a close contact with a group of people,
stimuli.
Similar experiences, not the exactly similar, but
Well,
people who
close.
close, yes, to their problems. When it will become real. The change will become real when a person will join the group that make the change possible. Because they will say, that person did it, why can't I? Of course I can do it. So the sharing experiences, sharing the life-changing moments will help fix that habit and that change, and it will become durable.
Okay, durable and sustainable.
Yes.
Perfect.
It will last for forever, maybe.
Now, I think I'm very excited actually to hear more insights from you based on your reading. I like to ask you to tell me more about the craving brain and how to create new habits in chapter 2. That's that is something if you are interested, of course, to tell me more about it, because once you start reading, I think there should be some outlet to help you crystallize your reading and just form a better understanding of the book, because reading is about telling people, not only about enriching your vocabulary and your knowledge. And through that conduit, you would definitely be able to achieve better results once you start exploring how you tell people about the story of that book. So, do you have any suggestion or opinion regarding that?
Regarding how to make
Like,
craving participate in creating a habit loop?
Yes. Do you think that it's gonna be a good idea if you present it to me in our next meeting, like for 10 minutes? You just
Like to give
a summary.
Ordinary examples are from
Summary and some sort of relevance to our life, like tempting things, seducing things in our life, like chocolate or Nutella or smoking or alcohol, or these kind of like stimuli that just make people addicted to some sort of behavior, and how they can get rid of that behavior applying the rule that you just talked about.
Okay.
Sounds good. Now, do you have anything to add to what you have said so far?
No, actually, I don't.
Okay. What are you planning? What are you going to plan to read in our next meeting? Is it going to be chapter 2, or you move beyond that?
Yeah, let's just take it in order. Am I right?
Yes. We're just going chapter by chapter. So, do you want to go through the golden rule of habit change, or you stick with chapter 2, craving brain?
I did read the craving brain.
So,
and I will summarize and put some examples. Okay, and I will try to read more from the chapter 3. It was, I think, not 2. 2?
We talk about craving brain. That's chapter 2. Chapter 3 is the golden rule of habit change.
Then 4.
Okay, but we should not go very fast understanding this book because this book is very rich with so many things that we should pay attention to. And
then just let us collect some examples about craving brain.
Yes, and what I will do,
how can we change it?
What I'll do, I'll just copy some quotes from the book, chapter 3, and I will ask you to comment on that. So I'll just send you just like what we did with the essay, and you give me your experience and you comment on that part.
Perfect. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you so much. That was a lovely talk, lovely conversation with you, Zainab. Thank you so much for your dedication and your rich experience traveling abroad, being a doctor, sharing your thoughts as a doctor with me, and then also spreading the word about your language. Thank you so much, and I'll see you soon, inshallah, this week.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome.
One
last thing.
Okay.
So today's Thursday. Our next meeting is gonna be Friday, Saturday. I would shoot for Sunday.
Okay.
Let me just put it in my calendar here so I can kind of tentatively say from 10 to. That's it. So Sunday, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you.
Have a lovely evening.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.